These are very initial reports. Whenever we're talking about a chaotic situation such as this one, an unprecedented one, at that, there are bound to be many different sort of incidents reported relating to other suspicious activity, criminal activity. In this case, we're talking about potential explosives being planted throughout the city. Obviously, we'll be watching those reports very closely and tracking them to see exactly what is indeed behind them. But there is no question that there could be a lot more to what meets the eye, and there is a lot that meets the eye when you're looking at these images of the Capitol and of Washington D.C. at this very moment. But what's important to acknowledge here that it's not just the Capitol building; it goes well beyond the Capitol building's walls, even though it's within there as well. That the security situation is increasing as far as veracity is concerned, and as far as the police presence and the special police presence is concerned. Obviously, the National Guard has finally been called into action. Whether or not they'll get there in the next couple of minutes remains to be seen. But what we can say is we're talking about an active security situation, no longer just in the Capitol building, as I mentioned. I'm in my home state of Maryland. The governor there, a Republican governor, Larry Hogan, saying that he will provide his own troopers, his state troopers, to stand by with the Metropolitan Police there in Washington, D.C. in order to aid in any way they can. This is obviously just the first of what's expected to be more calls for more support to come, even from Republican representatives. As I mentioned earlier, there were 2 representatives that I heard at that point. Since then, there have been several more that are standing back away from President Trump on this and condemning what's happening right now. We heard just in the last couple minutes from Vice President Mike Pence not only saying that he wants a peaceful sort of behavior from those that are there, but also actually asking people to leave, to vacate the premises, which is what the U.S. president did not say in his tweet about the ongoing situation, and that was after things turned violent. And things are likely going to remain very tense for the minutes to come. I spoke to some friends there in Washington, D.C. in the past couple minutes. Again, from those I spoke to, they are not going outside. These are not journalists. They're not there to report the story. They're there to really watch what's going on and try and protect themselves. And they say the best way to do that is to stay indoors. And that's what they're hearing from all of their closest friends there in the area. This is a scary situation for anyone that lives in Washington, D.C., and also for those that live in Maryland, obviously neighboring Washington, D.C., and it seems as though those security forces may also be deployed to try and help mitigate any more damage that could be caused as a result of this ongoing demonstration, or whatever you want to call it, an assault on a U.S. government building. But what we do understand, from sources I've spoken to on the ground, is that the police presence is being focused inside the Capitol building, as well as they're trying to get a lot of those protesters outside of offices like Democratic Representative Nancy Pelosi, for example, writing signs on her desk, other people posing for pictures in other sort of offices throughout the Capitol building. So really, we're talking about a total infiltration of some of these protesters into government grounds. So that's obviously something that has to be dealt with immediately, because it poses a greater risk for those government entities. But obviously what's happening outside of the building itself is no less severe, and we're likely going to see a lot more police activity surrounding those issues as well, not least of which is the issue that I mentioned at the beginning, that we were discussing in the beginning, which is these reports of more criminal activity outside of the Capitol grounds, whether it be explosives and things like that are being reported. We'll see whether or not that's confirmed, but definitely a lot of scares that are going to be prompting the attention of Metropolitan Police there in Washington, D.C.